Greg Hawk here. I'm here to tell you about a treasure story up around Horse Mesa, Arizona. It's north of Apache Junction, north of Canyon Lake. And there's a couple stories that tie into this. One was there were two guys hiking up Fish Creek Canyon, and they got lost back in one of the side canyons. And a rainstorm came along, and they kind of got back underneath a rock, sitting to wait the rainstorm out. And there happened to be a flat rock laying there on the ground. They moved and there was a hole underneath of it, the story goes. And they reached down a hole and they fished out there some gold bars. So they fished out a couple of them. And when the rain quit, they figured, well, they tried to remember where this was and they'd hike out, but they were lost back in this area. So what happened, over the next few days, they were trying to get out of there and they just down to water and whatever, and it was rough country. One of them didn't make it. The other guy made it out with two of the bars. And he kind of went crazy after that. This was told. He didn't want to go back, and he couldn't remember where it was. He told the story. Well, that's the treasure story. Well, there's another deal too. That's when the King of Spain, I think it was around 1767 or sometime, edit was to remove all the Jesuits from his areas that he controlled, and America was one of them. And I think it had partially to do with he was running a royal fifth, they call it, which he wanted 20% of everything to come out of the mines, and he didn't think the Jesuits were giving him but 10%, and there was some conflict. So word got ahead of troops coming to arrest them or get rid of them, to move them out of there. And the Jesuits took a lot of the treasures, shut the mines down, closed them up all over in Arizona and wherever. So one of the stories was they went north up this canyon here by Horse Mesa and supposedly buried some of the treasure there before heading over to California. And we're going to take a ride up there. I'm going to show you some stuff. And there's a couple rocks up there carved just like a dog, a big poodle. And they call those sentry dogs. They said the Spanish used to have these dogs, and they kind of rode with them as kind of like a guard dog, and they're pretty good size. Well, they got a couple rocks carved like that, and they used marker rocks. So I guess when the king's men went up to these mines, brought the gold and silver out, they had a path to follow out of the mountains, and oftentimes they'd mark rocks, but stones under rocks, so they'd have a kind of opening underneath the rocks. And once they got down to saguaros, they'd oftentimes cut the saguaro cactus. And you can follow those throughout the desert. You'll notice one arm will be cut like this, and another 100 yards, another one arm cut. When you get close to the mountains, oftentimes, getting close to where the vein is or a mine is, they'll take the top of the saguaros, they cut like a V in it. You can see this. And I've been back in the mountains and saw where a vein structure where there's actually some mining done on it, on up the hill. And there were two saguaro cactuses at the bottom on either side of this vein structure. And on the bottom of those cactus, each was carved a heart. And to the Spanish, that signified gold. So they were all over Arizona, Cleveland, Colorado, New Mexico, California, and they were basically after gold mostly. This was really rich silver. But anyway, supposedly the Jesuits were heading up that way toward Horse Mesa, and they hid some of the treasure back in there. That's part of the story too. But I'm going to take you out there, and we're going to take a trip up there from out of Apache Junction north, and we'll go by Canyon Lake, and I'll take you up there and show you some of the things I found. It's pretty interesting. And then we'll stop back by and show you a few other things, if you want to do, just to have some fun up there. But anyway, it's an interesting little drive. And let me show you a little bit on the map here about it. Okay, on the map here, I show Canyon Lake. We're coming north out of Apache Junction. We just follow around Canyon Lake, right along the Apache Trail here, they call it. We'll go by Tortilla Flat, and we'll go on around. And just as you come up here on top, there's a turnoff to your left. And we go back a ways, and I'm going to show you a rock carved like a sentinel dog, And also I'm going to show you a rock cross I found buried in the ground up here. Then a little bit farther down there's another rock carved like a sentinel dog down here. I'm going to show you that area right there and a few other things that I found. So anyway, that's a good start. But this is all Horse Mesa up here, okay? And then you have the dam, Horse Mesa Dam. That was built in 1924 to 1927, so it's been there quite a while. It's built by the Bureau of Reclamation. And you used to be able to drive all the way down this road, and people lived down here, but after 9/11, they put a gate up and to keep access down. So we probably won't be able to get through that gate to get down there. And the last time I was here, I actually hiked in from Fish Creek. I hiked up Fish Creek Canyon, Fish Creek ways, and was searching some of these side canyons. But you see how steep it is right here in places up and down. So there's pretty deep water puddles. I mean, I had boots and still is going over the top. So if I was going to go back in there, I'd have some swimmers boots, a floating pack or whatever else, because the water's kind of pretty deep in some of them ponds back in there. And it is tough country, I will say that. So I don't have a clue where those guys found those gold bars up on these side canyons. But anyway, it's beautiful country, it's tough country. And as you see, there's a lot of steep cliffs up and down. So anyway, we're going to take off and we'll head on up that way. And I'll show you a few things when we get up there. Now we're just heading down a hill towards Canyon Lake, and we'll be going around the far end of it as we head over toward Horse Mesa. So let's keep going. Okay, we've come back in a couple miles on the gravel road off the pavement. As you come around the bend here, you're going to see these runs down here in the bottom on the right side. As we sweep around and go to the left side, you're going to see some rocks kind of stacked up. It's an outline of a road going to the top of the hill. And we're going up to the top of the hill, and I want to show you some different carvings and things up there. So let's head on up and I'll give you a few shots up there. Okay, here's what I wanted to show you. This is what they call a sentry rock. It marked a path for the king's men basically to ride what they call the King's Trail, is what I've been told, up through these mountains to guide them back to where the mines were to bring the ore out, silver or gold. If you get down in the flatlands, then they got saguaro cactus marked to lead them. So when you come up through here, they have different ways of marking trail. This is just one of them. I'll show you another one a little bit later. What now I want to show you is a stone cross that I found buried in the ground. Okay, we've come on down the hill behind where the rock was, what I showed you. If you look around out here, if you look real close, you'll find once in a while you find a rock with another rock under it, kind of leaving a void. That kind of a Spanish markers, I've been told. And down here at the bottom, looked like at one time there was an encampment. When it rained, they could catch water in these ponding areas, and they camped out down here. So there's quite a lot just to walk around and have a look to see what you think. Anyway, we're going to go ahead on down the road. I didn't find that cross. It's been 14 years since I've been up here. It might have been overgrown, but I think I have a picture in my archives I can show you, because I found it back around the year 2000. Okay? Here are two pictures I took of the stone cross that I found up here in the year 2000. As you can see, it was pretty wide open then. And these are two pictures we took in 2009. You can see the cactus starting to overgrow them. And I couldn't find those at the cross today. Here's a picture of one of the rocks up here that has a little rock under it, which is another style of Spanish marker. If you look around up here, you may find more. And this is the sentry rock I found in 2000. Well, we come to the end of the road going down towards the dam. Horse Mesa Dam was built in 1923 to 27, a thin arch dam at the bottom holding back Apache Reservoir above it. But anyway, about 100 yards past this, before 9/11 hit, this used to be open and people lived down there at the bottom by the dam. About 100 yards down there's a rock just like a sentry dog, and they used to put Christmas decorations around it every Christmas. So that was another one of these clues that led me to believe that maybe there was a path down through here the Spanish traveled. But anyway, we're going over to Fish Creek on the other side because I have hiked in that way down that creek investigating that treasure story. So let's go on around and get over to Fish Creek.
Here's a sentry rock that lies about 100 yards below the gate that I took in the year 2000 while I was up here.
Well, it looked like I struck out again. I was driving down to Fish Creek and I was going to show you where I was going to hike up from there, but now the road's closed here also. So it's a couple miles yet down to the bottom. But I wanted to show you something here on this magazine. This is by Charles Kenworthy, and he wrote several of these, and you can still find them on the internet. They're out of publication, and he talks about hidden treasures and different types of Spanish monuments and trail markers. So if you're interested in looking at things like that, see if you can find one of these on the internet. He's got like 3 different versions out, so have a look for that. I'm going to take you over here to this viewpoint real quick and give you a picture of what Fish Canyon looks like down below, along with Horse Mesa. This is kind of the viewpoint. You can see the road going on down into the canyon and down to Fish Creek. If we turn around here, you can walk on out even further out to the viewpoint, and in the distance is Horse Mesa. Okay, it was 2 miles to get back in here. They do have facilities back in here, a restroom and whatever, and it's about 2 miles of gravel road to get back here, and it's a little bit rough. So anyway, we're going to stop on the way going back. We're going to stop at Tortilla Flat, and I'll stop at the Goldfield and give you a look there. So next stop, Tortilla Flat. Well, we made it down to Tortilla Flat. Probably go in and have a beer at the Superstition Saloon. Years ago, this place burned down, and people from all over the world came in here and pasted $1 bills on the ceiling, the walls. They'd sign their name and where they were from. We're going to go inside and see what it looks like now and possibly have a cold brew. Next stop is Goldfield. Well, we made it inside. I don't know if you can see the close-up of this place. There's dollar bills pasted from bottom to top. More dollar bill. It's quite the place just to come in and have a cold brew on a hot summer day. Well, we're stopping at Goldfield Ghost Town. We'll turn back in here to the saloon. They got a museum and the gunfights here for tourists, so it's a good place to stop and maybe have a beer and watch the excitement going on. But across the road, you can see the Superstition Mountains. Well, you come back into Goldfield, you got quite a few little buildings to go through. At the back, you got the saloon, got a lot of old mining equipment, got a museum, got an ice cream parlor, and they got a replica of an old mine. You go on a mine tour back here. So if you're out this way, stop by. It's worth the walkabout and a little bit of adventure. Okay?
This is our last stop, the Superstition Mountain Museum. I just wanted to stop here for a minute and give you kind of a look around, especially out back of the 20 stamp mill we used to use for crushing gold ore back in the day to get the gold out of it. Well, let's walk out back and have a look.
At the back of the museum property, they got a 20 stamp mill, which is a really large stamp mill for processing ore, crushing it down to get the gold out of it.
Thanks for joining us. For more treasure stories, go to desertroamerpress.com and check out our treasure blog and video.